We continue our story with Tarn facing off against Soundwave for the battle of, well, the synthetic energon. And this is where we get a very interesting conversation between the two. To think you were one of Megatron's most loyal servants. To think you had everything, and now you tossed it all away. What could have possibly driven you to that point? To which Soundwave simply says something very simple. He threw loyalty from one master for loyalty to a family, loyalty to someone who genuinely saw terrible things and was a victim of it. He follows Stinger not because he was made to. He follows Stinger because he actually believes in him more than he does Megatron. And so the two of them battle, two of the most loyal of their now respective factions. Megatron's right-hand man, or one of Megatron's most dedicated servants, versus one of the Autobots' most loyal soldiers now. And well, Soundwave and his cassettes put a beating on him. Rumble disturbs the ground, allowing for Frenzy to get in a hit, allowing Ravage to come on Tarn's face, no Diddy, and actually just slash at it. And this is where Tarn actually gets his scar under his mask because of Ravage instead of Grimlock in this timeline. And this is where Frenzy then manipulates his own sound waves and actually causes Tarn to feel a huge amount of pain, causing him to, in all honesty, tweak out and start seeing hallucinations. Hallucinations that Megatron deems him unfit. Megatron deems him unworthy and a failure of a creation. And this is where Laserbeak, and keep in mind we're keeping their original Cybertronian designs by the way, comes down and bombards him. And this is where Tarn is able to finally get up and see where the cylinder is, in the hands of Predacon. And this is where Tarn rushes over to him and points his fusion cannon, telling the Predacon to hand it over or he's gonna regret it. And this is where Predacon, still standing on the cylinder mind you, transforms and looks down at Tarn, who is genuinely shocked. And he simply states, "You sure you want to do that? You sure you want to go about this?" And as Tarn runs off and retreats, this is where we get a conversation between him and Soundwave. "Why did you get to have all the fun?" To which Soundwave is like, "Huh?" And this is where Predacon's like, "Well, I wanted to fight somebody too." To which Soundwave's like, "Look, next time, he's all yours." And Predacon's like, "Fine, let's go." So, the Autobots get the synthetic energon. Now, let's move on to the episode Rock Bottom, where this episode is actually dedicated to Optimus, Ratchet, kind of a side character in this one, and Stinger. And this is where they actually bump into the Combaticons in the mine, where they're actually trying to find any supplies that the Decepticons can use so far, because they've been on a losing streak as of late. Even the Combaticons are like, maybe we should have just switched sides, because I mean, gee, Starscream can't do anything. Wish we had a one way to bring Megatron back very quickly. But this is where they actually are spotted by the Autobots, and, well, the two of them try to engage while Ratchet hangs back, wonder what the Combaticons are looking for. But this is where the Combaticons do bring the cave down, and Stinger and Optimus get separated in one half, while Ratchet gets separated on another, and the Combaticons are able to make their way out. But this is where we actually see Optimus help up Stinger, ask him if he's okay. To which Stinger and him have another spark-to-spark moment. And he states, and he kind of asks Optimus this question very skeptically, and simply asks, "What's the plan?" However, Optimus's answer is generic and kind of fits with his character. Optimus states right now they get out of here and find Ratchet before exiting the cave and leaving or possibly dealing with the Combaticons. And Stinger is a little taken aback by this, and he says, "For a moment there I thought you were going to be selfish." To which Optimus is like, "I get it. I really do. I'm not like Zeta. I'm not like Alpha Trion, Megatronus, or Leech Maximo, as you know." To which Stinger does chuckle at this a bit and says that, "Yeah, you're different. At least from what I've seen here. But again, to me, you're still one step behind of what's needed of you." To which Optimus simply asks, what's he mean? And Stinger states right now, that's for another time. And this is where they actually do manage to dig away Ratchet, actually helping him up. And he states, well, you two sure took your sweet time. To which this is where Stinger simply states, pipe it, old bot. You're getting out of here right then and now. And this is where they actually have to deal with the Combaticons. And so this episode kind of continues with Bruticus trying to bring down the cave as they're in it. And this is where Stinger, now seeing that they're out more in the open, this is where he puts out his communication and states, hey, if you guys don't mind, we could really use some supersized muscle. And this is where a space bridge opens and out files Devastator. And he and Bruticus actually begin battling each other, with Devastator actually taking a lot more blows to try and get Bruticus away from the caves here. And this actually does work, meaning that Optimus and Stinger are able to transform and roll out, while Ratchet actually makes his way towards the, space bridge and actually heads back to base. This is where Optimus and Stinger, along with Devastator, engage Bruticus, outmaneuvering and flanking him, while Devastator gets in the large majority of the shots and damaging. This is where Stinger then pulls out his Bloodstorm cannon and blasts it right at Bruticus's, I guess you could say chest area, causing the Combaticons to disassemble. And this is where Optimus simply states, we can leave them. To which Stinger's like, are you sure about that? To which Optimus is like, yes, I think they can definitely be spared and at least shown some mercy. To which Stinger simply sighs as the Constructicons disassemble, and this is where Optimus is like, what? To which Stinger then goes on with the conversation. You lack that need, the need to get things done. That's what I think holds you back. That's what really could end this war right then and there. If you had the opportunity to kill Megatron, would you? To which Optimus does go silent. And this is where Stinger is like, exactly. I respect you. I really do. You're different. You're the Prime that, in all honesty, should have been in charge ahead of time. But again, I don't wish a Prime's responsibility on anyone. Heck, who knows? Maybe I'll be a Prime myself at some point, right? But you lack that need, that drive to really finish or do what needs to be done. And again, maybe you're not that kind of Prime. It's understandable. But right now, what keeps you, or keeps the cause at a more arm's length of victory just out the grass, is that need, that drive, that Optimus Prime that was needed, that is needed. However, Optimus states that he believes everyone deserves the capacity and, deserves a chance at redemption. To which Stinger gets close to him and simply states, everybody. To which Optimus is like, yes, even though you are a very different case. To which Stinger's like, damn right I am. I was betrayed by the very Prime I swore to protect. My life dedicated to helping and making sure the Autobot cause won wars. But because I was too successful, I was betrayed by the Council and the Prime I protect. Then here comes Megatron, offering me another chance, giving myself to a warlord, for crying out loud. Someone who I definitely couldn't follow fully. I find that funny, isn't it? Now here I am, leader of a pack or a group, if not the very family that I desire. The very family I've created. Similar to you and Team Prime. And yet, I can't believe in everyone being redeemed. Even if Megatron showed some ounce of good in him, I doubt that it's there. Almost corrupting the core with Dark Energon. And almost exterminating Autobots that were fleeing. People that were not even in the battle anymore. People who gave up on the war. And even then, I saved you, protected you, made sure you had the schematics to disable Tripticon. I even managed to convince Soundwave to join, and I was genuinely shocked about that myself. To which Devastator simply states, "Boss, you good?" To which Stinger does calm down and states, "Yeah, I'm good. But understand, Optimus, everyone is not that redeemable." And this is where we see Ratchet actually agree with him. And Optimus as well has a bit more of a smile on his face. And actually a very good smile. Because this means that he and Stinger are communicating. He and Stinger are actually building something better. However, Stinger does think Optimus is soft. But again, Optimus is actually happy that at least he's voicing his opinion about him. But this is where he steps on something. And Optimus is like, what's this? So Stinger walks over and is like, well, I wouldn't believe it. So this is where they bring it back to the base, and Ratchet is genuinely shocked, by the way. He's like, no way. Why did you bring that? You could have just left it there. To which Stinger states, I made a promise to Predacon, and I intend to keep it, no matter what. And this is where we pan over to see the Predacon fossil. And Predacon himself is like, I thought there were none on Earth. To which Stinger himself is simply states, as did I. But it seems that this planet is harboring more than we expected. Maybe an ancient race of Predacons actually existed here long ago, and we can use this. To which he says, Predacons. Or Ratchet simply goes, Predacons. Maybe we can. And this is where Stinger looks at Devastator, and he simply is like, you know what? I actually have a very, very great idea. And so that's where we end off in this part. But now we go into the final part of this, the episode Metal Attraction, where Dreadwing and Skyquake are the ones sent out here. And, well, this is how I would have the conversation between the two. Dreadwing would spot Skyquake as, well, matter of fact, they spot each other at the same time, transform and land. Where Dreadwing is like, brother, it's great to see you. I'm so glad you're alive. To which Skyquake says, likewise, brother. It is good to know that you have not perished on Cybertron. And to which, this is where Dreadwing asks, where were you all this time? Stationed here on Earth in hibernation, or, slumber, if you will. Ordered by Megatron. To which Dreadwing is like, so you were cast aside by our former master. To which Skyquake says, no, he had a job. He had a duty. And to which, this is where Dreadwing simply states, brother, what task did we even complete? He left you here and forgotten about you. To which Skyquake simply states, no, as I was sent for this planet. I had a job to do, and I maintained it. To which, this does get on Dreadwing's nerves a bit, and this is where Skyquake simply states, how could you betray our cause? To which, this is where Dreadwing is like, brother, the cause was corrupted. Do you know how many Decepticons were there? How many Decepticons you're likely with that have no honor? What good is harming prisoners of war? What good is harming those who didn't want to put up a fight? To those who left. To which Skyquake simply states, lies. And this is where Skyquake charges at him, and Dreadwing simply states, very well, brother, have it your way. So as the two fight, and they are pretty evenly matched, by the way, this is where Deadlock actually arrives on the scene. And spotting the two fighting, he tries to sneak up and get the Polarity Gauntlet, to which he's then drop-kicked by RC, who also came to get the Polarity Gauntlet to assist Dreadwing. Keep in mind, Dreadwing and Skyquake are literally like jets or muscle jets, so yeah, obviously they would have got there faster than cars, right? And so this is where, as the two battle, Dreadlock actually begins to lose and then starts pulling out his gun. To which RC weaves around the shots and actually slices the gun with her wrist blades. And she simply states, wow, Stinger was right about you. You actually suck at fighting. To which this is where Deadlock is like, ugh, how dare you? I am a master of my class, trained by the legendary Bludgeon himself. To which he then grabs his sword and swings downward. To which RC jumps back and uses the same maneuver she did on Shockwave, blasting Deadlock in his eye, causing him immense pain. And this is where RC simply grabs the Polarity Gauntlet and tells Dreadwing, we've got it. And so, Dreadwing transforms and uses jet thrusters to push back Skyquake before leaving through the ground bridge, telling his brother to be safe on his own path. And this is where we ended off with Skyquake saying likewise. And that's where we're going to leave it off here, you guys. Please comment down below, like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And I'll see you guys from Megatron's Resurrection.